Welcome to Three Girls, One Track, your go-to podcast for listening to two sisters and their cousin try and get into Formula One. We're here to break down the ins and outs of what happens on the track and especially what happens off of it. Listen in weekly to get your fill of F1 gossip, race outcomes, and which Lewis Hamilton Fashion Week outfit we thought was the hottest.
Well, what was everyone's favorite bit of feedback from first episode?
It wasn't feedback about me, but I thought it was hilarious feedback. Your friend that said that Bex had a very captivating vocal fry.
Oh, yeah. So
Didn't stop laughing for 5 minutes when I saw that.
I didn't really know how to take. I was like,
she meant it. What? She definitely meant it like in a good way, Bex. But like,
I mean,
that was great.
Hold on, I'm gonna find it and read it. 1 second.
I love your vocal fry, Bex.
But same friend also said she loved that Bex started the podcast with the gaslighting of her not being bossy. I said,
gaslighting. Oh my God! I have never ever been called a gaslighter a day in my life.
She said, and I quote, "Your sister is effing comedy, beginning the pod with gaslighting," and then gives 2 of the Italian perfection hands. Then
I'm taken aback.
You what?
I am taken aback.
Listen, don't worry about it. It's okay. Said Bex, audibly stimulating vocal fry that reads comforting and intelligence.
Okay, I guess so I'll take it as a positive and, just...
And Af, you got energetic, authoritative, but very inviting.
There you go. There you go.
I got that you were like very authoritative, that you had a good grasp of the material, that you knew F1 really well.
And not me with the wheel knowledge. Okay, wheel knowledge.
Yes,
we love it. Gaslight, gatekeep, call his new bitch mainstream. We've got all of it on this podcast. That's why people love us.
All right.
Alrighty. So we decided to mix up the order a little bit, get a little bit fun and funky at the beginning before we get into the real content. So, Philly, tell us all about this Saudi Arabian-inspired cocktail.
So, small fact. Alcohol is actually illegal in Saudi Arabia. So, yes, it's strictly forbidden. You risk imprisonment, flogging, deportation, or heavy fines if you possess or consume alcohol. This is mostly because it's home to like 2 of the most holy Muslim city, Mecca and Medina. So they're very, very strict. But they might be opening the first liquor store in the capital city of Riyadh. But it's only going to be controlled by the government, and they will only sell liquor to non-Muslim diplomats. So in honor of all of that, I decided to make a blood orange and raspberry mocktail here. You take the juice from 2 blood oranges, about a half a cup of raspberries, and muddle them together. Put it in a shaker with an ounce of lime juice and about an ounce of agave syrup. Shake it up, strain it, make sure you strain it out, and then you top it off with some sparkling water. And there you go, a delicious mocktail, because we love our non-alcoholic girlies here.
So you did not make a cocktail worth getting flogged for?
No.
Okay.
No flogging here.
Okay.
Yes.
Just had to check in. Next week, it'll be one that's worth it.
I shan't risk it. I shan't.
That's valid.
I wouldn't.
All right. We can kick it off into fashion. We're going to go through our Project Runway, essentially our sleigh outfits of the week, and our what not to wears, which is self-explanatory. Really wish they brought that show back. That show was iconic. So it's really a tragedy that we don't have that. But
maybe we'll get a reboot.
Maybe we will get a reboot.
You never know.
All right, ladies. We have my fashion pick up first. Controversially, I think Charles Leclerc has pretty fun, funky fashion. So he's my Project Runway of the week. He wore this outfit, I think on race day, with this like Star Child band tee and these cute heart jeans. So it has like patches and it has like distressed in hearts. I would wear this outfit.
I can see you in that outfit.
I would wear this outfit wholeheartedly. And
Yeah,
so
I
I
actually could
Fan
see
of
you in this
it?
outfit.
No, but I can see you in that outfit.
I love it on him. I love it on him. He's very baby girl in this outfit, and I love that about him.
BB girl.
He's very baby girl about this outfit. So he's my Project Runway.
Okay.
And my what not to wear is Esteban Ocon. I don't remember what day of the week this was from, but my gripe is not with the actual garment. I think a linen shirt is a good go-to whenever you're anywhere hot. My question is why Esteban clearly did a really good crisp fold on this shirt, packed it in his suitcase, took it out of his suitcase, and then put it on his body without any sort of steam treatment.
Maybe
He
unless
didn't iron it.
he may have folded it, but it might be fresh out the pack.
It might be fresh out of the
those
pack.
folds are too crispy. Those folds are too crispy. I'm talking. He would have had to starch and then fold to get that crisp.
These photos will be on the Substack, but y'all, it's very, very creased.
And then you can see where his seatbelt was when
Yeah,
he
you
was
can see
sitting.
the fold on the side, in the
Yeah.
middle, the three folds. Yeah, it is still very crispy, but the only thing I don't want to get on him too much because linen wrinkles very easily.
I'm fine with the wrinkles. It's the crisp fold.
Because you
Okay,
can
crisp
see
fold. Got it.
the natural wrinkling at the bottom. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, where his seatbelt was. You can see the natural wrinkling. It's up at the top, right on his chest, at the sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's doing something for him negative.
All you need is one iron over it.
Yeah. Let's pray that he comes less folded, more styled next week. All right, Bex, talk to us about your Project Runway.
So my Project Runway is going to be a shocker because I don't think I've ever thought of this person as being stylish. But I'm actually going to give it to Lance Stroll. I was taken back when I first saw him because I was like, wait, who is that? And I was like, oh, that's Lance in a little Hugo
Lance Stroll made
Boss.
you take a double take.
He definitely was a double take. But he looked really cute. And I was like, he looks really well. I also found out that Hugo Boss is a sponsor for Aston Martin this year.
Makes sense.
And so I'm assuming that they dressed him. But it came together really well. The glasses, everything, even the chain. It's just showing a lot of swag. I'm going to throw it back to swag. But yeah, a lot of swag.
I mean, it's swag, but we all know it's not his swag. It doesn't.
It's all right. Let's give him credit. Let's give him credit. Credit is due.
Giving credit where it's due, I think.
And so, for my what not to wear, it's going to be a very big shocker if you listen to our first episode, because I'm having to give it to Sir Lewis Hamilton for one specific outfit, which was like his brown outfit, his brown tunic. It's like a sleeveless coat, but no shirt under it with matching trousers. To be honest, Lewis is a style fashion icon. Anyone and everyone can agree with me on that. For some reason, this one, at least the way the photographs that I've seen, it doesn't photograph well. It just looks very monkish, if you will.
It's not a good look.
I've seen better from him. Even when he wore like that see-through outfit earlier in the week, I thought that was a great outfit.
The white,
I didn't want to pick it as my favorite because it was nice, it was cool, it worked, but it wasn't great.
This is a Gucci
This
fit.
one, the brown tunic coat situation just wasn't hitting for me. So that's my two.
I think y'all are haters. I think you're haters. This outfit eats so hard for me.
Compare this Gucci fit to his last Gucci fit.
I think for me, this one, it's just something I'm just not feeling about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe he had a shirt underneath, maybe if the coat had sleeves, maybe if he had like a belt, something. I don't know what it is. It's just something that's not working for me. I'm no fashion icon, so who am I to judge? But I'm judging.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in your judgment, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
Unfortunately, he has to also be my what not to wear, and I am so hurt because how could he let me down like this? Anyway.
Y'all don't have the vision. I have the vision.
No, not for this.
I have the vision.
Sure.
All right. Philly, you can tell us who you did pick for your Project Runway.
So, Zhou Guan Yu actually surprised me a little bit. I love this Dior look with the blue, low cut shirt and then the black trousers. It's very simple, but it's a good look for him. The glasses. He looks swaggy, more swaggy than Lance Stroll. Don't even. Zhou Guan Yu, he swagged it out a little bit.
I will say, for me in particular, I actually think that Zhou is the second best dresser on the grid.
Oh, he's a Prada baby.
Yeah. I think after
He wasn't even wearing
Lewis,
Prada.
he's definitely...
No, but he's like canonically like a Prada, like he head to toe Prada.
Love.
Yeah, but I think I wish more of the guys on the grid would step it up with their fashion, but it's slowly, seeping through the grid.
I mean, most of them just wear the team shirt and then some trousers.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because they could eat. Some of them really could eat.
Absolutely.
And they choose not to eat, and it's sad.
It's okay. It's okay.
I will say, Zhou was almost my Project Runway, except I think this would have been a really great outfit for like an almost cropped version of this top. I think if this top met the top of his pants,
that could have been an interesting look.
The proportions would have been better.
But it seems like it would be.
I think the proportions would have been better. That's okay. All right. Any other fashion hot thoughts, hot anything before we kick it into high gear with some F1 pop culture?
No.
I think it wasn't too much on the grid this week, though. No. I think we've pretty much hit all the high and low points.
Yeah. They weren't eating. They weren't eating too much.
No. We didn't give us much.
We didn't.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. With that all said, though, we now do have to talk about what the fuck is going on at Red Bull. What the hell's going on at Red Bull? And we're not going to belabor too much on the Christian Horner thing again. We talked that to death last week. So instead, I'm going to give you all some... Yes, please.
Didn't something else come out, though? Didn't they fire that girl?
That was going to be on one of my hot topics of things that we're going to hit. So we can start with that.
Okay.
It is reported by reputable sources that they have suspended the employee that allegated against Christian. Bad vibes. Not good vibes. Bad HR practices. Bad HR practices.
Oh, I think we need to state who Christian Horner is exactly.
Sorry, yes. For those of you who don't know, Christian Horner is the team principal. Think of him as like big boss of Red Bull Racing. So he oversees everything, has tons of employees, like basically oversees the entirety of the Red Bull Racing operation. He's the one that last episode we talked about had sexual harassment allegations against him that were dismissed. And now the alligator has supposedly been suspended. There appears to have also maybe been a $1 million settlement. But that is also just rumor. None of this has been like confirmed and signed off by Red Bull themselves. This is all journalistic reporting.
So it's kind of like seeming like a hush plot.
Kind of seeming like a hush plot to me.
Pay her off, get her out of there. That's so terrible.
Yeah. So vibes are not bad. Sorry, vibes are not good in the Red Bull camp.
That paddock must be rocking.
Yeah. Speaking of the paddock rocking, and just because it has to do with the whole her getting suspended, Christian Horner thing. As always happens whenever there's anything rocking in the paddock, reporters asked the F1 drivers about the Christian Horner thing, and as you would expect, the answers were bad. So far, we have Lewis, James Vowles, and Zach Brown being the only ones with like good statements. James Vowles being the team principal of Williams, Zach Brown being the team principal of McLaren. Lewis and James's statements were great. They were pretty good, all considering.
Wait, Lewis who? Is in Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton.
Oh.
Girl.
I hadn't heard his statement.
Girl.
No, you said Lewis, and then you talked about two team principals. So I'm like, which team principal is Lewis?
No.
F1 in entirety.
Listen, I do not think that Lewis Hamilton is the only Lewis on that track. I'm not that.
Well, he is. He is one, he is only Lewis on that track of importance, anyway.
Yeah, maybe someone in the garage.
Yeah, maybe some rando. But even if it was a team principal, that team principal would go by team principal, and that's it. But yes, many of the drivers were asked. Multiple drivers, Daniel, Lando, Valtteri, one of the Haas boys. I'm not going to lie, they blend into one figure for me sometimes. I believe it was Hulkenberg, but it could have been Magnussen. And Alex all essentially said it was distracting. It was noise. They want to go back to racing, blah, 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 blah. And we saw how all that distraction and noise turned out for them in these weekend results. So, looks like it was distracting. Looks like you were distracted, Daniel.
So
you were very distracted.
Daniel, we'll
talk about the thing for me that was like frustrating. I can understand them saying it's distracting. I can understand, but I also think that they should have put it more so on Red Bull, saying Red Bull, figure this out because it's becoming something that we all have to answer for. It's something that we all get questioned, and we aren't the people. Like, we aren't the ones that are, that have the full story, that are privy to all the information.
Yeah.
So I think that for them, you could say it's distracting, but also it needs to be a complete statement saying they need to figure this out. They need to come to resolution. If that means Christian Horner gets fired, whatever it is. But I just didn't like it. It felt like very
dismissive.
Just like, dismissive. There you go. It was very dismissive. Yeah. It was very much like, who cares? Her sexual harassment. I don't know. That's not for me. I want to drive.
And Zach Brown actually did a really good balance of acknowledging that it was quote unquote distracting without going, therefore stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, the FIA needs to crack this open and figure out what's going on.
He said,
so surprisingly, Zach Brown ate a little bit on this one. He ate.
He did. I actually did. I heard his recently. It might have been before the race, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And also, too, if I'm not mistaken, Zach Brown is like the only American principal. Is he American?
He is American. He's also the CEO. He's not a team principal. But everybody kind of treats him like the team principal.
I always assumed he was.
He's the CEO, technically.
Okay. But I wonder if that may also play into it as well, him being an American, understanding, like, those are things that we take seriously, those accusations. And I think that in America, like, the tide's changing when it comes to, like, employee, employer, like, sexual harassment in the workplace, things like that. So, I don't know. Just food for thought, I guess.
Yeah. We also have to enter in a new cast member to all of our explanations about what's going on at Red Bull. Jesus. Here we have Helmut Marko. He is one of the advisors at Red Bull, primarily in charge of junior development, junior scouting. You may know him as the man who basically got all of the junior Red Bull drivers. He's the reason they have Max at the end of the day in terms of talent scouting. And we all saw how young and talented Max turned out to be. So, Helmut, in that regard, he is good at his job. Some other things Helmut is known for is being extremely overtly racist and xenophobic. He has made numerous racist comments about Checo and Yuki and Lewis. So, not big Helmut fans over here. However, surprisingly, Helmut has sort of been a very outspoken, whistleblowery member of the whole Christian Horner thing. The outspokenness is not surprising. Somehow there is always a journalist with a Helmut Marko quote for every situation. I don't know how. They have a quote from this man for everything.
So always gets to wherever the journalist.
Exactly. It's actually kind of crazy how often you just hear him say something. But essentially, there's a lot of mixy stuff going on with him over at Red Bull. Max is saying, I don't want to be at Red Bull without Helmet. There was rumors about Helmet getting suspended because Helmet was being particularly outspoken about the Christian Horner thing, essentially saying, like, yeah, we kind of need to, like, he was essentially saying what, like, a Zach Brown or a James Valls are saying, where it's like, we kind of need to get this all sorted out. Like, this is kind of weird and murky. He wasn't throwing 100% support behind Christian, going, no, this is false. He wasn't, doing what Christian was doing for himself.
Okay.
So there was rumor that he might be suspended. After talks with sort of the head of Red Bull, it appears that his suspension is off the table. But all of this suspending Helmet, Max doesn't want to be there without Helmet talk prompted rumors that Max could move to Mercedes in 2025.
Oh, God.
Any thoughts?
What is Red Bull going to do?
So you said Helmet's suspension is off the table for right now.
Yeah, basically. Helmet said, I'm not going to suspend it.
Okay, I think for me, like, initially when I first saw this, I was so frustrated because I'm like, this is what you're going to suspend Helmet over? Like, some of the, like, of all the things he's done, I mean, I understand, like, leaking information, is poor form, especially when it comes to, like, the business side of it. But he's done so many other, like, and said so many other, like, crazy things. I was kind of like, okay, this is laughable a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still struggling to figure out if this is them just trying to call Red Bull's bluff and to, like, really, like, I'm trying to understand if this is, like, Max and Helmet's, like, way to call Red Bull's bluff, or if they really are going to consider a move. Because I feel like Max is Red Bull and Red Bull is Max. I personally, that's how I viewed the two teams since I started watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if Max were to make a move to Mercedes, it would be a really big change in F1 world. And I think you start viewing things a little bit differently. I don't know.
I agree that this is mostly politicking, in my opinion.
That's what it feels like, yeah. It feels
like you have Christians saying nobody's bigger than the team, which, like, you've spent, like, 5 years telling Max he is bigger than the team, so it's, like, a really weird all of a sudden switch that he's not bigger than the team. Like, let's be real here. So I personally think it's all politicking. I don't think Max is going to Mercedes. I don't think Helmet's going to Mercedes. Toto said some weird comment about replacing Niki Lauda with Helmut Marko, which I thought was absurd.
My God.
Wait, is Niki Lauda the one who looks exactly like Toto?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Niki Lauda was one of the, like, really influential F1 drivers turned Mercedes advisor who died a couple years ago.
Oh, no.
He was, like, the reason Lewis came to Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like, a very influential character in Lewis's journey and, like, Mercedes' journey. Mm-hmm. So saying that you're going to replace him with some dude who's been openly racist towards Lewis is, like, kind of crazy. But no, I think it's all politicking, wanting to get a soundbite, wanting to get some clicks.
I think they're trying to force Red Bull's hand. I think that's what they're trying. Well, yeah, I think that's how they're trying to see what Red Bull's going to do. Maybe this is like a power move. They're like, who's more important, Christian Horner or Max? And they're trying to see what Red Bull is going to decide.
Agreed.
My question is, why is Max so quick to stand behind Helmet with his reputation as well? So in the Christian situation, he's like, oh, it's a distraction. It's a this, it's a that. Why is he now saying, I want to, if Helmet goes, I go, when he's this blatantly racist, xenophobic jackass?
Yeah, Helmet was, like, instrumental and really close to Max in, like, his junior life, and has basically been, like, a big part of Max's life since he was, like, pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that respect, he views Helmet as more of part of his, like, circle, whereas, like, Christian is, like, a really nice boss. Like, your really nice boss is not the same as, like, you're somebody you consider like a close
I
like
think Helmut's
member
more
of
like
your
a
party.
mentor.
Yeah.
And Christian's just like my cool employer who,
Yeah.
And what's Helmet's position again?
He is a Red Bull advisor. Yes. Notably not hired by Red Bull Racing, but by Red Bull the company. He was really close to the founder of Red Bull, Dietrich, who died a couple years ago.
Oh. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so now they're thinking that they were whispers about suspension because he
supposedly was part of being overly outspoken, leaking information.
Okay.
So there was like a little half meme, half real speculation that Helmut Marko was the one who leaked the Google Drive, which I thought was really funny because Helmut Marko's not leaking no Google Drive. I don't know if that knows what Google Drive is.
Does he even know what a Google Drive is?
I don't think so.
I'd be shocked.
Can he use anything but a basic keyboard?
Isn't that still a BlackBerry in his hand?
It might be.
No, I don't. They stopped making BlackBerry.
No, they still make BlackBerries.
They still make BlackBerries.
Yeah.
And if anybody had one, Helmet would be up there.
You know what I'm saying?
Make BlackBerry?
Blocky.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh, okay. That's cool.
Of course. But yeah. So that's kind of what the fuck is going on with Red Bull.
I don't know. I always wonder is this just like a big old power play? Everyone's just making their own power play on trying to. Cause didn't I hear, or maybe you said it? Did you say it last week? I read somewhere that Christian Horner tried to buy.
Yes.
Tried to become like majority owner of Red Bull or something like that.
Yeah, there were rumors that Christian was essentially trying to buy out the Austrian portion of Red Bull or something, or he was trying to become an owner and buy majority, if not all, using British interests. So kind of crazy, honestly.
I feel like there's a lot of power struggles happening in Red Bull right now, and I'm intrigued to see how it ends. But I also feel like I don't think people should forget that we really haven't gotten answers about the whole Christian Horner sexual harassment thing. So
we've gotten the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, we've gotten non-answers. Only more questions.
Yeah, a lot more questions.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all of that said, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get into not only the Saudi GP, we've also got some questions from our resident newbie to try and help her understand F1 a little bit more before the Australian GP. All right, we are back. We are ready, and we're going to get in to some questions from Felicia about the Saudi Grand Prix, just so that she knows what's what when we start talking about it. Right. Felicia, the floor is yours.
So, first question, because I watch qualifiers. How do they decide this grid? And why does it matter so much where you sit on the grid?
Right. So,
did you just
Sorry. But what kind of question? What does it matter? Does it matter if you start 1 or 20? Listen, I get it, but no. What do you mean? Does it matter? Stupid question is
why does it matter so much?
Felicia, what does it matter starting at the front? Starting number 1 or starting number 20?
It's a question. Jesus Christ.
Okay, sure.
Question. All right, y'all. All right, I'll mediate. I'll step in. So essentially during qualifying, as you know, it sets the order of the people. Right? To answer your question about why it matters, before I get into how they do it, I'm going to quote one Will Buxton. You want to qualify first, because that means you got the 19 other drivers starting behind you. That's the whole thing. If you qualify first, you don't got to fight through 19 other people to try and be first. You already are first.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole shtick. You got less people to beef to get ahead.
Understood.
Right? That's the reason why.
Okay.
As far as the qualifying, how they determine it, it is a 3-round qualifying.
Okay.
Q1, the initial qualifying round, has all 20 drivers.
Okay.
They zoom, set their fastest laps in a certain amount of time. Bam. Slowest 5, you're gone. Your positions are locked.
In Q1.
In Q1.
Okay.
Q2.
Yes.
The top 15 drivers. Zoom. Fastest laps. Bam. The next 5, your positions are locked.
Mm-hmm.
Q3. The top 10 fastest drivers, they zoom to figure out how the top 10 is going to stand.
Yes.
That's how qualifying works.
Okay, question. Now,
Answer.
say you've got Max. He wins first round quali, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next round, Lando comes, sweeps him out. Next round again, someone else comes. Who would be first on the grid?
The person who sets the fastest lap in Q3.
Heard. Okay, so
Your lap times from previous qualifying rounds get erased unless you were the ones knocked out.
say that one more time.
Unless you were the ones knocked out by that round, your lap times from previous rounds get erased.
Oh.
Yes.
So if you're still fighting for qualifying,
all through qualifiers, you want to just remain in the top 10. But if you can sweep the last one, then you would technically be at the top, even if you were at the 10th, the last round.
Yes. Yeah. So, for example, Charles was fastest in Q2 last time.
Okay.
In Bahrain. Charles's Q2 time was faster than Max's Q3 time.
Ah.
So Max still took pole, even though technically the fastest lap across all sessions was Charles.
What?
Because the conditions in each qualifying round are slightly different.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes somebody might set a faster lap, and let's say it starts raining.
Okay.
In between Q2 and Q3.
Yes.
You're slower in the rain. Yeah. So there'd be no point in Q3. You're not going to get faster. Every qualifying round is its own, thing.
Okay. Own little mini race.
Basically, so the first 2 qualifiers are just to get to Q3.
Yes.
Okay. Understood. That makes more sense.
All right. Next.
That's it.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm just being,
you funny. Just want to be a pain in my backside. Anyway.
No, just being funny.
Funny, huh?
Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
So, example, when Lance Stroll crashed into the wall this race, right?
Yes.
Why do they do that zigzag back and forth? Are they just trying to make sure the car behind them doesn't jump them during the safety and the medic being out?
No.
Okay.
So, 1, when the safety car is out, you cannot pass.
Oh.
So unless your person in front of you, also crashes and becomes incapacitated, you cannot pass them.
Oh, okay.
Notably, Max has gotten, a lot of heat because there used to be this thing that they called, the Max Verstappen move, where he wouldn't pass him, but he would get a millimeter from passing him. And then the green light would go on and he would take off.
Jesus.
And they were and he was like, well, I didn't pass them. I was just next to him. But you're not allowed to pass under a safety car.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Item number 2, it keeps heat in their tires.
Okay.
And so if you have cold tires, when you try to go full speed again, you're not going to have enough grip. You're going to slide all over the place. You might crash. You also won't be as fast.
Okay.
So you're just trying to keep heat in their tires, and a good way to do that when you're going slow behind a safety car is to do a little ziggy zag.
Got you. Okay. Keep them tires hot. Okay. Also makes sense. Question number 3. This whole race control thing, race control had a call where they said Lando Norris had a jump start. What, did he just start too fast, but it was after the safety medic car? So I was a little confused.
Yeah. So a couple things. 1, race control, they're the refs, right? Okay. Cool. Great. There are sensors in the cars and on the track that are supposed to assist race control in doing their job.
Okay.
One of those sensors notes where the tires on the car are in reference to their little grid box that they start in.
Okay.
Visually, to the eye, it was clear that Lando had a false start.
Mm-hmm.
If a human being watched the video, they would see Lando rolled forward before the start.
Okay.
The sensors, however, did not trip that Lando rolled forward.
Okay.
So that's why there's that weird thing where all the commentators and also every other person who has eyes was like, he obviously had a false start. But the sensor was like, no, he didn't.
So
George Russell
that's why it took so long to come up.
Yes.
Because it was so, I was like...
It was so obvious. Yeah.
I was like, y'all let him do that already. Okay.
Yeah. So it was because the sensor didn't trip, so they were like, should we? And then eventually they were like, nah, the sensor didn't trip, so.
Wow. Okay. So it actually never became a thing against him.
I remember they said something like, it depends also to like how far he went in his false start.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess they said he didn't go far enough.
Yeah, that's part of what the sensor tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people were like, I think it's like, article 48.1a or something. Will Buxton tweeted it.
The rules like that?
Will Buxton tweeted it. I don't know the rules like that.
Oh.
I don't know the rules like that. Will Buxton tweeted out that the rules essentially don't dictate how far a false start has to go. They just dictate that if you false start at all.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it was a little bit where people were like, bro, what? So yeah.
Girl, what is the...
For the viewer's reference, I pulled out my bottle of wine to pour myself more wine. Felicia was apparently taken aback by that for some reason.
Because it's huge.
Oh, well, it's a 1.5. And that's just the better way. I'll give you all some wine pouring ASMR while Felicia thinks on her next question.
Glug, glug, glug.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Next question. So Albon, when they were listening to his speaker, whatever voiceover, he had I don't remember who it was who basically cut him off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't give me enough space. You need to speak to the stewards about this. Who are the stewards? Are those the refs?
The stewards are the refs.
Okay, making sure. That's basically my question for that was who the heck are the stewards?
Yeah.
I saw a DPS activation zone.
You didn't see you saw a DRS activation zone. You didn't see a DPS activation zone. I can tell you that much right now. DPS activation zone.
Oh my, she's a DPS.
I did that on purpose, Hush.
Oh, okay, sure.
But Bierman, the little chicken nugget, used it to overtake Hulkenberg, and I thought that was really cool. That's just a statement. It's not even a question. It was just a statement. And then this time penalty thing. So they said that Magnussen had a 10-second time penalty because he left the track to gain an advantage. I saw him leave the track to gain the advantage. I saw that. It's the 10-second penalty. So what does that mean? Does he have to go to the box for 10 seconds, like in hockey?
So
what?
No, in hockey, when you get a thing, you have to.
I am so sorry. I swear, just because she's my little sister, that I can laugh at her. Oh my goodness. It's to your final time.
The pit.
Yeah, so basically, when you get a time penalty, so generally you get like a 5 or a 10-second time penalty, depending on the severity. Okay. As you might have heard, a lot of people were like, 10 seconds for leaving the track and getting an advantage. Like, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. Especially because he didn't really gain an advantage.
No.
So you get a time penalty, and one of two things can happen.
Okay.
One, you can go the next time you need to pit. So let's say you'd gotten that time penalty the first lap.
Okay.
Right? When you go to pit, they have to freeze for 10 seconds before they can touch your car.
Their pit stops are like 3 seconds.
Yep. So you're going to have a long pit stop. It's going to mess up your race. And on top of that, there's danger that if your people don't wait exactly at least 10 seconds,
you
will get another penalty.
Jesus.
Or if you're not going to pit again, it just gets added to the end of your race.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I think
Note that
the next one is almost is worse.
Yeah, it definitely gets mixed up a little bit in terms of just like which one's better, which one's worse. Note that there's also other ways penalties can be applied. Okay. It's not always you get a 5 second, you get a 10 second. Sometimes it's you get a stop and go penalty, which means you have to go into the pits, stop, and leave without them touching your car. So you have to waste all that time going into and out of the pits, but you don't get to benefit from the pit. Sometimes it's there's lots of different penalties you can get. And we'll talk about penalties in another episode.
Okay. Well, that was my last question, but technically they do go in the box, Bex.
It's not called a box.
The pit, whatever. But it technically my analogy was correct.
Okay, yes, a pit, but not a box. Because you said hockey.
Hockey was the analogy, so it would make sense.
Okay,
right.
sure.
Before y'all get too into it, we're going to talk a little bit about the Saudi GP.
Okay.
Woo!
Not as boring as Bahrain.
Not as boring as Bahrain at all. So, officially known as the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, it is hosted in Jeddah, and it takes place at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit. First took place in 2021, dun dun dun, and was the 5th full night race on the F1 calendar.
So they race all night?
No, it just means the whole race happened at night.
Oh.
So sometimes a race will happen over the course of sunset. Sometimes the race will be during the day.
Some racist so much.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna let that one live. I'm gonna let that one happen.
Okay.
You full night. Okay, never mind.
No.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right. So the track is 6 kilometers long, 3.8 miles, and it's a 50-lap race. 21 turns, 3 DRS zones, and the circuit record is held by Lewis Hamilton in 2021. Last year, Sergio Perez won, and it is a notable track not only for being one of the fastest on the calendar, but also for being home to the famous brake checking incident in 2021 with Max and Lewis, where it was rumored that during a pass that Lewis was trying to make, Max brake checked him. Mm-hmm. And by rumored, I mean they checked that man's G-forces, and he did brake check Lewis. So he was a little shady for that, but
yeah,
he was a little shady for that. Before we get into like qualifying, oh sorry,
no, I'm saying the brake check incident was in 2021, and Lewis still had the record.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's really cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the brake checking did not affect the record, but that's okay.
Nice.
Before we get into qualifying and the race, we're going to talk a little bit about the shining star this week, Ollie Bierman. So
of the night.
I know, he was so good. So this was his first F1 race, and why was it his first F1 race? Because Carlos Sainz got appendicitis.
Poor thing.
Rip.
That picture of him being in the hospital for appendicitis and his dad being in the hospital for appendicitis.
That one was funny.
That was hilarious.
They did their big one with that. So Ollie Bierman, his full name is Oliver Bierman, but everybody calls him Ollie
because he's a child.
Because he is a child. He was born in 2005. He's 18, and he's a young F2 driver. He's British. He originally started karting when he was only 7 years old, and then got into German and Italian single-seaters in F4. Made his way up to F3 and then to F2. His rookie year was last year, and he did really good. He drives for Prema, and so he won races. He did really good in qualifying. And the reason why he was in a Ferrari was because he's part of the Ferrari Drivers Academy, which is their junior program for scouting young talent. So he's one of their reserve drivers. So he got to drive the Ferrari alongside Charles, which he has been noted as saying, like, if he was wanting to drive against alongside anyone in F1, it would be Charles.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Is he, like, Ferrari's official reserve driver?
Yes.
Okay, because I was wondering, because, like, I know, like, Red Bull, like, Daniel Ricciardo last year was Red Bull's reserve driver. What's his name?
So every team has a reserve
Schumacher
driver?
is currently like Mercedes reserve driver. I was
Yes.
just wondering, like, how do the teams decide when they want to have like an F2 driver as a reserve driver versus like a former F1 driver
Yeah.
as a reserve
So
driver?
provided that your team has
Oh,
somebody in the pipeline
there you go. Yeah.
that has enough super license points,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially like enough, like they've built up enough experience.
Oh, enough what?
Super
So
license.
super license points are points that you get by being an experienced motorsport person.
So
So
they have points for professional car racing like they do for a regular driver's license?
Not
yes, but
quite.
these points are good.
Okay.
You
Points are
want these
bad
points.
on your driver's license.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm aware, Bex. Jesus.
No,
So-
I was just saying. That's why I'm saying it's different. I wasn't trying to be smart about it.
Yeah, so these
This
points are
time.
good. You want to get these points. So
License.
Yeah.
he has enough points to be in F1. He just doesn't have a seat yet. That's the group of people. Super license points.
But what is a super license?
So super license is essentially, it's not like literally a license. It is the word for the documentation that indicates your experience as a motorsport driver.
So you're certified.
It's like a certificate.
Okay.
And so they created it a little bit ago, not super recently, but it also hasn't been around for forever. And it has become more important as time has gone on. Specifically, honestly, since Max entered F1 is when they started harping on you need to have a specific amount of super license points because Max joined because Red Bull wanted him. And so Max got to skip the feeder series.
No.
And they just put him in when he was 16.
Oh, 16?
Yes.
Yeah, Max has been driving for. I really
Max has been driving for 10 years in F1.
And he's still really young.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, I'm not going to ask those questions.
We'll get more into that. You'll have your own little F1 101, and we'll cover that in F1 101.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely was a big critique people were having this weekend. Was like Liam Lawson drove last year. He was amazing. Ollie Bierman drove this race. He was amazing. Why do we have people who have been sitting here on a track taking up spots that a lot of people feel that they should not be taking up when you could have Ollie Bierman in one of those seats? You could have Liam Lawson in one of those seats. Maybe some people who have been around a long time and not delivering.
I think they're a little too much into the seniority of it and like letting the drivers choose when they will back down. But these men don't seem like the type to back down until they get their title that they want.
I don't know. I feel like it's a lot more. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more politics in F1.
Oh yeah.
And like there's some noise that some of these teams didn't want another team on the grid because then that would mean that they would have to basically split more. They would lose money basically by having another team on the grid. And also too, some of these drivers. I don't know. I think sometimes some of these drivers get picked up by certain teams really early on.
Essentially, yeah. There's a lot mixed up in getting somebody an F1 seat besides literally getting them an F1 seat.
But like, again, that comes back to Ollie Bierman because it's like, that's very unfortunate for drivers like him because they don't get the opportunity until they're probably way older. Had Carlos Sainz not gotten appendicitis, when would we have actually seen Ollie Bierman on the grid?
Yeah.
I will say Ollie Bierman is still pretty young.
He's big.
He's a baby.
So, I think he still has a couple more years, but there are other drivers who are slowly getting up. Who got a chance last year?
Liam Lawson.
No, someone else. Who actually got a seat?
Nick DeVries.
Nick DeVries. Because he was a reserve for Mercedes for a while.
Mercedes, drove for Williams, and then got an AlphaTauri seat, sucked, and then got removed.
Jesus.
I know.
No, Felicia, he was bad.
It was really bad. But I also felt like, did he get the seat too late? Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like you sit on these people for so long that when they finally get a chance or get a seat, it's like they're no longer at their prime.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Well, I
of
mean,
them. But
Nick was
Ollie
like,
is
what,
still very young.
24, 25 when he got his seat? Or was he older?
Nick DeVries,
Yeah.
27.
Jesus.
He was a little older. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Rip.
he was so short.
What do you
Anyway, sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. Well, we love Ollie. He did absolutely great.
Oh, I love his dad's reaction to him.
His dad was iconic.
His dad in the paddock just being like, what? Like, it's like you can see that in his head. He's like, who the hell taught this kid that?
I think his dad also was nervous too. Like, his dad really wanted him to have a good showing. You can kind of see the nerves a little bit on his dad's face.
For sure.
100%.
And then his dad's just like, huh? That was hilarious. I was cracking up when I saw that. Anyway, next.
Alrighty. Well, let's get into qualifying and race. I thought qualifying was a little bit more interesting this time. Lewis scared me a couple times.
Yeah.
I was very scared.
He came a little too close to the bottom for my liking.
A little too close to the bottom.
8th?
I think he ended up 8th, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, sir, we gotta up the ante just a little bit. And then he had a thingy on his Instagram talking about the we move. You better move.
In his defense, we move was for Bahrain.
Oh. Either way, you better move. Move on that grid, sir.
He did need to move a little bit.
Because I'm tired of seeing you in the bottom of the top 10.
Yeah. But for qualifying, after 3 rounds, we ended up with Max in first, of course. Charles in second, Sergio in third, Alonso in fourth, Oscar in fifth, Lando in sixth, Russell in seventh, Lewis in eighth, Yuki in ninth, and Stroll in 10th. I would just like to say, for all the haters out there saying that Daniel would wash Yuki this season,
I
think Daniel's lost it. And
that transitions us to the race, because my first note was that Daniel's washed.
That spin out was so. What was that?
Daniel's one of the ones
he spun out completely of his own volition.
There was no one there. I'm sorry, Bex. What were you saying?
I'm saying Daniel's one. I think needs to let go of that seat, because I understand he's a very popular character on the grid, but there are other ways there are other opportunities that he can find on the grid that don't require him to take it.
Can't retired drivers become advisors?
Yeah,
they can. But he can become a commentator. Stick that man on Sky Sports or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why they like him. They like his personality.
His goofy charisma would be. It'd be all right.
And I don't watch Sky Sports, so it'll all work out too.
Oh my god,
it'd be great.
I can't. But I don't. How do you spin out by yourself?
Like, there are ways to spin out by yourself. Let me not act like there are not valid reasons to spin out by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you're running in 16th. You've done nothing but disappoint all weekend.
Mm.
And then you spin out by yourself.
Mm.
Like, if Logan Sargent did this, we'd all be clowning him.
Well.
We'd all be clowning him, saying he doesn't need a seat.
Well, Daniel doesn't seem to need or want his seat.
Yeah, he wants it. He just doesn't deserve it. I think I can partially say someone doesn't deserve it because they all do work hard on their own. I just feel like he's just not as good anymore, and that could be given to someone who's at least an up and comer who,
another
has a hill to climb versus someone who I personally think is on a decline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My next point was Hamilton's defense masterclass. I think he did 30 laps on mediums to hold off Oscar, who's on fresh tires.
So as I was watching it, I was like, Hamilton, like he was like the first few laps, I was like, I don't know, Hamilton. And I was like, I was thinking, I was like, is it Hamilton? Like, is he still a good driver? You know, he's getting up there in age. He's almost 40. Like, is it the car? But then he was like, hold on.
Yeah.
Don't doubt me so soon. Because
Yeah.
he really, really did so well defending against Oscar. Because Oscar there was a couple of times I really thought Oscar had him.
There was one point when I thought Oscar was going to DRS and go past Hamilton. And Hamilton literally just slid over, blocked him out. Like the whole entire time. 30 laps, though?
Mm-hmm.
You held someone off for 30 laps on old tires.
On the mediums that they were saying, oh, these should last like 20 laps before you should pit them.
And he said, no, I'm not giving up this spot.
I'm not going.
But that's what irritates me, because he's very clearly still a very good driver. But is it the car or is it him that keeps bringing him down to the lower half of the top 10?
It's the car.
It's the car.
It's the car.
Yeah, I think it's like he showed that he still has it.
Mm-hmm.
He still has something left in the tank. In this race, and it's and you could, I don't know, I saw his post race interview, and you could see that he just looks so dejected and just. And I was like, but he's like, I think if he was like on the podium, it would be different. But he keeps coming bottom. Like, well, I shouldn't say at the bottom, but
bottom
to me, it seems like the bottom for Lewis. Like,
yeah, it's the bottom where Lewis considers relevant, and like the thing is that he's not losing spots to people on merit.
Yeah,
he's losing spots to people on things that are strictly car.
Mm-hmm.
If you are losing all of your time to Oscar on these straights, there's nothing Lewis can do to be faster in a straight.
True.
The straight, you have your foot down all the way and you're just pointing it straight.
And
if you can't do anything to be faster,
it can't go faster.
Yeah, all the parts where you can do something,
yeah,
he's keeping Oscar behind easy.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a race with everyone in an equal car.
In the same car. Mm-hmm.
Lots of people want like an exhibition spec race.
I would really like to see that. I don't know who would want to participate in that.
Yeah.
But
the only problem when you do that is that you are not really going to design a car without like oversteer or understeer. And so you're going to bias part of the grid because, like, for example, if you build an oversteer car,
mm-hmm.
which just means the car is like overly sensitive,
mm-hmm.
Max is going to destroy the grid in that thing. Whereas Lewis hates an oversteery car.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, it's not going to work.
I wish there was a way we could see it. I think this game was like the skill. I would love to see their skills instead of talking about the car week in and week out. I would love to talk about it.
A spec race would be fun for sure.
Because seeing, you know, people who just have driving skills compete against each other on an equal playing field, I think would be really interesting.
That'll be baller. For sure. I know we already hit on it a little bit, but I just want to come back that I think 20 seconds of penalties was insane.
So where did the other 10 seconds come from?
So he got one for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
Yes.
And then he got one for causing a collision, but the causing a collision was just like tapping wheels with Alex Albon.
Yeah.
Like he didn't
that was a collision?
Yeah. Well, because it's technically a collision, but normally they'll be like, or they'll just give you like a 5-second penalty if you like.
But they gave him 10?
10 seconds.
The thing for me, like, I'm not a big Magnussen, you know, whatever. But I think this is kind of like a thing where it shows that there's no
consistency with their
There you go, consistency. You know what I'm trying to say. There's no consistency when it comes to these penalties. And I think it's really frustrating trying to watch it. Like the whole Magnussen of it all, like I really, whatever. It sucks that it happened to him, but you know, I'm not a cheerleader.
We're not batting down the doors.
Exactly.
But
I do wish that there was more consistency in these penalties because it is getting frustrating. And I know that's been a complaint of the stewards and FIA for a while, but yeah, I think that's one thing I just took from it was like, there's no consistency. You don't really know, like, oh, okay, hey, if I don't know, maybe just you could tactically prepare for it. Like, okay, hey, I gained an advantage this way, so I'll know to expect a 5-second penalty, yada yada yada. I can plan, I can then change up my tactics for the rest of the race accordingly. But when you're just like, oh no, we decided to give you 10 seconds, you're like, what in the world? Wasn't planning for this. How could I expect it?
No standard across anything that
there supposedly is, but
you see that it gets applied differently.
Yeah.
Want you?
Yeah. So they're not exactly leveling with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for this race, the inevitable happened. We had Max come in first.
Oh, brother.
Ooh. We had Sergio in second and Charles in third. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing this podium a lot. So
let's hope we get that one. I hope we get a couple shakeups this season because I can't just see the same people on that daggone podium week after week. I'm sorry.
That's valid.
I will stop watching.
You won't stop watching because we have a podcast to film. So.
No, I don't know. I think the whole Max, Sergio, we're going to see that a lot. The 1-2, I can imagine we see a lot of that.
Okay.
Charles, that one I'm not 100% sure. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion because Ferrari is very up and down, so we'll see. But I will say they've been pretty well. What is last race?
Sainz is third last race.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, before I give Ferrari 2 credit, let me remember what.
I think it's really cute, the relationship that Max and Charles have, though.
Yeah.
The commentators were talking about it. Oh, these two, they're mighty chummy, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh yeah, they do look really friendly with one another.
Yeah, they were karting rivals, turned cordial, turned not so cordial, turned friends again. So
God,
we love that trajectory. We'll have a whole
their whole lives is what you're.
They've known each other most of their lives. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. A lot. But there are like a lot of relationships on the grid like that.
Oh yeah, we'll get a little bit into that in our driver 101 because some of them have some relationships that are kind of funny to talk about. So
cool.
We'll get into that one. All right. Well, with all of that said, if you enjoyed the pod, please rate, review, follow, give us 5 stars. And as always, our podcast only thrives when you share it. So send it to your friends, your family, maybe even your off-the-track rivals. Tune in next week for us to give a little F1 101 to our resident newbie. We're breaking down the teams. We're breaking down the drivers. Maybe we'll even let her know what happened between Pierre and Esteban.
Wait, what happened?
You have to wait until next week to find out.
No, y'all suck. Y'all can't just throw something out there at the end of the episode, act like I can't know.
Oh, yes, we can. And with that, have a good day, listeners. Bye.
Bye. Like they're all waving.
Oh,